Hello, friends, and welcome. We have something in common and something not in common. We're both teachers. I was a teacher for many years in the classroom, just like you, enjoyed it, found it very difficult to continue teaching for many reasons, one of which was that I had a problem with corrections. I could not read the handwriting of so many of my students well. Well, jokes apart, I salute you because being a teacher today, a school teacher, is not a very easy thing to do because there are so many do's and don'ts. So, on behalf of Chetna and on behalf of myself, as the author of English Will, I welcome you to this session. Now, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the ideas or some of my suggestions of how you can make your class while teaching English more enjoyable. The first things first, if you treat a language as a subject, you are going down the wrong way. This is not a subject. History, geography, mathematics, physics, you have to know the basics and then you have to study. But language, whether it be English or Hindi or Bangla or Telugu or Marathi, it has to be imbibed. And that is my mantra, which is mentioned clearly at the back on the back cover of my book, where you will see where I basically said, I know that we are teaching English in India as a second language. Obviously, it's the first language, it's the language of instruction, the medium of instruction, but we know that the children are not thinking in English, most of them. They're not speaking in English at home or regularly through the day, most of them. Things are changing now. And in some cases, it may even be a third language. So we are teaching a first language or the medium of instruction, but for the child and the family, sometimes it's a second language or third language. That is, keeping that in mind, I have worked very hard on this book for many years. So coming back to the point I was making, you cannot teach a language. The idea is, the secret is, you have to surround the child or surround yourself with a language if you want to learn the language. For instance, if I wanted to learn Chinese, I have no intention of learning Chinese, it's a very difficult language. I love Chinese food, I love Chinese people, but learning the language is really tough. If I went for a 1-hour class every day, 5 days of the week to learn Chinese, I wouldn't really learn Chinese. What I would need to do, when I really would learn Chinese, is if I went to my friend David Chen's house or home and spent 1 year with him and his family and told them, just be natural, speak in Chinese, and I listened to Chinese songs, and I listened to and I watched TV programs or movies, Chinese movies or Chinese television news, then they would imbibe the language. I would imbibe the language, I would absorb the language, and then I would listen to the language throughout, right through the day, and that's the only way I could really learn a language. So, what you need to do is, you need to partner the parent. You are teaching children who are very small, some of you are teaching children who are slightly older, but you can't do it on your own, because you only have the child for 40 minutes a day, maybe 2 periods a day max. But what's happening for the rest of the time? So you, at the start of the year, you will have to explain to the parents that they have a very important role to play. Now, the role needn't be, please sit down and teach them English, because the parent may not know. So the parent may teach the wrong thing actually. So what you have to tell the parent is that if you want your child to learn a language, any language, that child has to be, or the person has to be surrounded by the language. So I started in the 1970s in Kolkata, where I have always lived. We didn't speak very good Hindi. Nowadays everybody speaks pretty good Hindi because of what we see on the television and what we see through all the movies, etc. But in the 1970s, we people in Bengal, most of us did not speak very good Hindi. So many of us would say, "Kabhi kabhi mere dil mein khayal aata hai," but not me. I would say, even then, "Kabhi kabhi mere dil mein khayal aata hai," because I had these private tutors who would tutor me free. The radio, Mukesh, Kishore Kumar, Muhammad Rafi. I would listen to songs. I would watch Hindi films. And therefore, that is what I absorbed. That got into my bones. So what you need to tell the parents is, let them listen to music, English songs. Let them watch English news channels. Let them watch English films. Let them hear English being spoken correctly. And that brings me to the real strength of this series. It is a historic series because it is the only English language and literature series for schools in India that I know of, where every single poem, every single lesson, every single chapter has been read out by the author or someone equally capable. So, the child will actually hear the language being spoken correctly and follow it in the book. The child can do that at home many times. The parent can be with the child. You could do it in the classroom. So they can hear every single poem, every single play, every single lesson read by me, mostly by me, but by persons who are equally capable of speaking good English, and they speak good English. Yeah. So that's the real USP of this series. We'll go deeper into this series in a short while, but I just want to share with you something that I have thought of, how we can make the classroom a place where we can engage the child. So I want you to remember TEACH. If you want to teach a language or you want to pass on a language, remember this TEACH. T for take along. You have to take the student along with you. You have to take his or her parents along with you. You have to move together. You can't be teaching and walking out of the classroom whether they've understood or not. You have to take them. It's a journey. It's a journey. So it's extremely important that you're conscious about this journey of taking them along with you. Sometimes you also have to take your school management with you. You can't be doing something on your own. You will have to take your school management with you, where you interact. And I'm sure there are great visionaries in your school, whether it be your principal, vice principal, or the others on the management, where you come up with a policy of how we are going to get the general standard of English. We're not interested only in 2 or 3 students or 5 students who represent the school or participate in debates. We're interested in the general standard, where we get children, we don't put the gun to their head and say, you'll be fined 10 rupees if you don't speak in English and if you're caught speaking in some other language. That's not the right policy. No. You have to make them hungry. You have to make them like the language, appreciate the language. The Hindi word for it is zabardasti. I don't know what the other words in other language. You can't do zabardasti. You have to get the student to say, wow, I like speaking in English, or I like speaking in Marathi, or I like speaking in Hindi. So take them along with you. E, you can only take them along with you if you engage them and engage with them. So E is for engage. That means in the class you have to create an atmosphere of let them talk. Yeah, tell me. What about you? Yeah, you tell me. It has to be, why do we always in classrooms say, don't talk now, quiet now? No. We should say talk, but with some rules. Disciplined, organized talking, okay? So we've got to encourage that. So we've got to engage. So I will give you examples of how in each chapter you can engage with the student. Let them speak. Even if they speak incorrectly, it doesn't matter. But they have to speak. That's the most important thing. And don't correct them immediately. Let them speak. And while they are speaking, they may say one or two words in their mother tongue, in Bengali or Tamil or Marathi. That's fine. That's fine. That's not the examination. And in fact, in India, when we speak today, rarely will you hear somebody speaking only in Tamil, only in English, only in Marathi. Usually some words come in. What I'm trying to tell you is, let that be part of the learning process. Yeah, I will give you an example of how we can build their vocabulary in English by not telling them, don't speak in your mother tongue or don't speak. No, it has to go together. Then we come to A, T-E-A. You cannot engage or interest a student unless you're animated. You know the word animation? Animation means, when people hear the word animation, they think of cartoons and all that. So why do people like cartoons? Why do children like cartoons? Why do so many adults like cartoons? We like cartoons because it's animated. Because people are speaking, people are listening, people are looking, people are acting. People are changing their voice. The bear says to the little mouse, I'm going to eat you. And the little mouse says, hey, why me? Why me? Animation, expression, the power of expression. Voice, modulation of voice, that is animation. So if we are animated in the class, then and only then can you teach or you can pass on a language. In fact, actually, I think even a maths teacher should be animated and a physics teacher should be animated, because if you tell a story, children are listening, students are listening. Human beings are the best story listeners in the world. Right from the time we are children in a small cot, we are listening to a story. We like listening to stories. We are good storytellers, but we are the best story listeners in the world also. You won't see a tiger or monkey mother with their children telling them a story and they're listening. No. But humans, we are the best storytellers and story listeners, so you must be animated. The C, T-E-A-C-H, friends, it's all to do with communication. Written communication, yes, but spoken communication. Far too much emphasis is given in our schools from day one on writing. Write ABCD. Write. Writing will come later. First, know the language. How can you write F-A-N, fan, when you don't know what a fan is? First, you got to know what a fan is. That's a fan. The fan is going around and the fan is making me feel nice, and the fan should be put on when it's too hot. Language. Then will come F-A-N. But first, it's got to be the communication of the spoken word. So this series, Englishville, is to make them speak more confidently, write more confidently, fluently, effectively. But the emphasis, especially in the lower classes, is first on communication. When I say lower classes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are all lower classes for me, because you're still learning the language. It's only 5 or 6 years. Yeah? And finally, H. So T-E-A-C, and H is how to do it, to demonstrate. If you want to teach a child to swim, you can't only tell him what to do from outside the pool. You'll have to go and demonstrate. Demonstration is the best way to imbibe or pass on something. You show it. Show me how to do it. So if you're teaching somebody a forward defensive stroke, you don't say, now you stretch your leg and you bend over. No. You show it. The coach will show it. So it's important, if you want the child to speak the language correctly and embrace the language, you'll have to show it. And that's why we have this read aloud. All you've got to do is scan the QR code, and every single chapter will come alive on the screen with the author reading as well as the lines being written there. And you can use it many times. If a child wants to hear it, and you know, the best way is repetition. So how to do it, but repeating. Not just once or twice, many times over. Why do we like songs? So why do we like? Because it's repeated time after time after time. So that is my mantra with you, TEACH. I've got another little mantra with you, and it is, if you want to be a hit, not only as a teacher, as an English teacher, and you want to make Englishville a hit, H is for hunger. Make the child hungry. Oh, I love English. I want to speak more English. You have to explain to the child that it is not going to replace your mother tongue or your other tongue. You may be speaking Marathi and Hindi. You may be speaking Bangla and Odia. English is not to replace those languages. No, 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 no. English is basically the language that a large majority of the business world, of the commercial world, of the literary world are speaking and communicating in English. That is the reason why, in order to progress, in order to reach out to people, in order to receive what they are saying, if you communicate in English, people from Kashmir and Assam and Punjab can communicate with people in the south or with people in the northeast of India or with people in the United States of America. Why? Even in China and Japan, people are learning English in order to communicate for reasons of commerce, for reasons of business, etc. So, the idea is don't force the child. Activate the taste buds. You can't tell a child, you must eat dosa. You must eat chocolates. You must eat rice and dal. No. If the child likes it, if he or she likes the taste, he himself will go. That's why they like chips. And that's why they like kurkures and all these things, because they've got a hunger for it. Some of them, not all. But so the idea is make them hungry to want to know the language. H. I've already told you it is to do with being animated. Make it interactive. Like actually, if I was with you and asking you questions, etc., then my class or my session would be much more exciting. So you've got to make your class interactive. It cannot be one lecture like I'm giving you a lecture non-stop for 40 minutes. No, it has to be interactive. You have to ask questions, let them think, let them speak, let them answer, let them make mistakes, not a problem. So it has to be interactive because it's a process that is a very direct process and a very enjoyable one. People don't like just sitting and watching, but people like interacting, thinking, replying. And HIT, T is the key. I'm very blessed. I speak fairly good Bangla. তো আমি যখন বাংলায় কথা বলি আমার এটা কিন্তু বাংলায় थिंकिंग করছে मैं जब हिंदी में आपसे बात करता हूँ तो यहाँ ये जो मशीन है या जो फैक्ट्री है यहाँ पे काम हो रहा है हिंदी में तो ट्रांसलेशन नहीं हो रहा है there's no translation happening. So the moment you think in the language that you speak, you're going to come out on top. So the aim of this series is to get them hungry for the language, to make it interactive and enjoyable, and very important, to get them to think in the language. Well, that's a long introduction, but nevertheless, and we have kept in mind and brought in the policies and the guidelines of NEP. So you will find that all that has been laid down in NEP has been put into this series subtly sometimes. You know, you don't have to overdo it. So all those guidelines are right here. And we've done it through a family. We call them the Wright family. Mr. Wright, Mrs. Wright, Lily Wright, Sam Wright, and their doggy Spot Wright. Because we want to create an ambience where the language is being spoken, yeah? So each of these family members, somebody likes writing very simply and correctly, somebody likes speaking well, somebody is a good listener. So these are the qualities in this. So we're going to get to now actually sharing with you the lessons. So those of you who are teachers in classes 1, 2, 3, 4, welcome, and you're using Englishville. Welcome to this session. Once again, after that introduction, on behalf of Chetna, we want to thank schools for trusting us, and we want you to really take the book to the child and the parent. It's extremely important that you go through the book, go through what I'm trying to do and say, and then share it in the classroom. I want to share something with you before we go into the chapters. Remember, we must always remember one size doesn't fit all. Even if we have our own children, 2 children or 3 children, it doesn't mean they work at the same pace or they will learn at the same pace or they like the same things. No, it never happens. So in the classroom where you've got 40, 50 students, one size may not fit all. In fact, it may fit one school's children and not the other. So please remember, everyone does not and cannot go at the same pace. Please keep that in mind, and that's the challenge of a teacher. How do I teach people going at the various paces? But that's how it is. Anyway, so let's move on to what I want to share with you. I will go through very quickly a chapter in grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. And through the teaching of that chapter, or just sharing with you some points, each for about 5 minutes, I will try and tell you how I feel we should teach through this series of Englishville. So we are going to take grade 1 or book 1, and the demonstration I'm going to do is in chapter 1. Yeah. Before we begin, every chapter, every lesson, every song, every poem, I'm getting carried away with songs. I wish there were songs also in the book. It begins with a before we begin. That means before you start the chapter. Then there is the chapter which has the QR code which has been read out live, video and audio. So that's very, very important. And then we have the exercises. Of course, the meanings are right there on the same page. The meaning. You don't have to look, forward or back or in dictionaries even. That's a very time consuming thing. Of course, we want them to look at a dictionary, but it never happens. So we've given the meanings. And the exercises has a question zone, a vocabulary corner, grammar grove, writing avenue, communication street, and life skills. I'll come to each one of them. Okay, so let's begin with book 1, chapter 1. It's called Rain, Sun and Snow. Take a look now. This is my daughter Nadia actually. If you scan the QR code, you will hear her and watch her and see her, so will the students and so will the parents, reading this simple poem, Rain, Sun and Snow, with expression. So take a look at it.
Chapter 1. Rain, Sun and Snow. Enjoy this poem about the rain, sun and snow. Rain, rain, go away. Come again another day. Beena and Meena want to play. Rain, rain, go away. Sun, sun, go away. Come again another day. Sunny is feeling hot today. Sun, sun, go away. Snow, snow, go away. Come again another day. It is cold, so at home we must stay. Snow, snow, go away.
How many times should you play that? I don't know, as many times as you want, because I don't know what's the size of the socks that will fit the students of your class. Before we begin is a very important thing. Remember, I told you you have to activate their taste buds, you have to make them hungry. So this is before we begin, just getting them all excited about it. So in this chapter, in this poem, Rain, Sun and Snow, we've written there right at the top. Let's imagine, look at this picture. It is raining candies and sweets. Whoa, fantastic. Imagine it is raining and what's coming down is not water, but sweets and candies and toffees. Woo, grab. Animation in the classroom. Very important. Class 1, they're in class 1. And imagine, can you imagine something falling that you like? Not candies and sweets only. What can you imagine? that it is raining something from the sky that you want to fall. So what could it be? So somebody will say, sir, chocolates. Okay, chocolates is over, candies and thing. What about toys? Oh, toys are falling. Okay. Do you think you want plastic toys or wooden toys or toys made of steel? Oh, no, 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 sir. That would hurt us. Oh, no, no, no. What about a cricket bat? Oh, no, ma'am. Cricket bat would bump me on the head. Animation, interaction. Books. Somebody will say, I wish it was raining books. Let them imagine. It doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong. Let them just imagine. Oh, somebody has said money. Such a small little boy or girl saying, I wish it was raining money. Don't admonish them. Nothing wrong. Oh, I wish it was raining money. We'd all be collecting money, hopefully of notes that are still, which we can still use. But, Acha, do you think, little boys and girls, do you think money is important? Would you, why do people work? Why do your father and mother work? Because you need money. You need money to buy things. So let the discussion progress in that way. The second, let's go to the demonstration of the second part of before we begin. It says, let's think, match what we wear with when we wear or use it. So there's some garments over here and other things, and when do you use this? So let's take the first one on the left over there, which is an umbrella. Umbrella is not an easy word. So if somebody says, oh, chhata chhata in Bengali or Hindi, or somebody says in Marathi, chhatri, or in Telugu they say godugu, godugu, right? See, I'm learning, I'm trying to learn. So if somebody says chhatri in Punjabi or Marathi, or chhata in English or in Hindi or Bengali, or godugu in Telugu, let them say it, no problem. In fact, ask them, because then they'll get excited. Ma'am, do you know what we call it in Assamese? Ma'am, do you know what we call it in Gujarati? Great, that's animation, okay? Now, umbrella. Act it out, animate. When it is very, very hot, why do we need an umbrella? To protect us from the sun. Otherwise, we may get sick. And when else do we need an umbrella? When it rains. Does it rain a lot in our city? In which places does it rain a lot? Do you know where it rains a lot? So, interaction. Okay, so that's what we mean by before we begin. About 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, could be even 10 minutes before we begin each chapter. I think it's really important. Then, of course, comes the lesson itself, and then comes the exercises. Here we've got, say, question zone. In the question zone, we've made it very, it goes from easy to tougher to tough. Okay, that's how we usually do it. Vocabulary corner, where they're mostly word games. Very important to play these word games. Then we've got Writing Avenue. Now, if you look at Writing Avenue here on page 12, it says write 2 more of each. So let them think of 2 more animals. Let them think of 2 more things, because they have to come up with their own. Then we've got Communication Street. Here it's to do with correct pronunciation. Very important over here. And when you won't have any doubts, but if you have any doubts, you can clarify it easily. Everything is available on dictionaries online, the pronunciation yourself. You have to get them to practice. So say these words aloud after your teacher. Hit, bit, sit, fit. Sometimes get them to say it in groups, small groups, larger groups, single persons, depending, okay? Then there are many pronunciation exercises which you can use. After that, in some cases, we have speak correctly. Don't say this. Don't say, it is too much hot today. Wrong English. You should say, it is very hot today. So these are common errors made by students in India. That's what I've tried to do. So if don't say, it is very much cold today. No, it is very cold. Don't say, how you are today. You'll have to say, how are you today? Don't say, I am nice, thank you. You have to say, I'm fine, thank you. So there are many common errors that you may think of, and you will correct. Be careful when you're correcting children. Don't always do it in front of others and immediately. Say it in a way that many of us make such mistakes. Don't make the child feel that only he or she is making that mistake. Then we come to listening and speaking. Here, see, the example here is there are many children who live on the streets. In winter, they have no clothes to wear. What can we do to help them? Discuss this with your partner. What ideas can you come up with? Friends, everything is not a discussion in class. Sometimes you just ask them to talk one with one, or two or three of them together. And here we are getting some values in. You have seen some children on the street, they have no clothes. What can we do? In India, you can't do anything without being in touch with reality. What is happening? They have to know about that. Okay. And of course, then we have life skills at the end of each chapter. So I'll move on as fast as possible. Let's move on to a demonstration from book 2. Otherwise, those of you who are teaching grade 2, you will say, hey, what about me? So let's go to grade 2. In grade 2, I'm going to deal with, say, chapter 3. It's a little poem, very common one, Too Little. It's called Too Little. Before we begin, what can you do? So it's a very simple exercise where you'll get them to point to a particular part of the body and then they name the body. Here again, if they want to name it in their mother tongue or other regional languages, of course, why not? That's fun. Yeah? You have to create an atmosphere of fun and animation, and the hidden agenda is to improve their English. The second exercise is even more fun. Make a list of all the people you would like to thank and what you are thanking them for, creating an awareness and a consciousness that if people help you, you should say thank you. So they will start saying, they may not say grandmother, they will say it in some other language also, not a problem. So they have to think of a person and they have to think, why am I thanking the person? Not just writing it here, but even saying it. As we move on now to the chapter, once again the chapter will be, the poem will be read out. And if you look at the question zone, you see how we get tougher. First it's think quick, write yes or no. Simple. Then answer in one sentence and then think and answer. We are telling children that the comprehension can come in various forms. You have to know it well. So you just have to say yes or no, then you have to answer in one sentence, then you have to think and answer. Vocabulary, as I told you, there are word games. Look at the second one. The second one is very interesting. A pair of. Now, in India, one of the common mistakes we make is a pair of spectacle. No, a pair of spectacles. A pair of trouser. A trouser. No trouser. Pair of trousers. Or a short. No, shorts. So, it's very important. Scissors. Please pass me the scissor. No. Please pass me the scissors, or a pair of scissors, even though it's just one. Yeah. So I'm just trying to tell you that we have put a lot of thought into it. I have put a lot of thought into the common mistakes that children and people in India make. Look at the writing avenue. We want the child, unless a child is made to think, to imagine, to visualize something of their own, and to come up with their own creativity, dig into their creative soul. A child can't learn a language. A child can't actually live life unless the child is creative. When you're a child, you're 10 years old, you're 7 years old, you're 3 years old, you're thinking. Maybe right, maybe wrong. So look at the writing avenue. What would you like to thank God for? Write a letter thanking God for all the people who care for you. So you're asking the child to write a letter to God. Wonderful. Here, your God, my God, his God, her God may be all different with different names and different images. So here also, once again, what has been established, not just in the national education policy, but generally we want to in our country, ask children to be not just tolerant, but to know other cultures, other religions, to know about it, to respect everybody. That comes through over here. And of course, imagine God, and imagine writing to God. Then we get to communication practice that we have after every chapter. And in the little boxes over here, we have interesting comments or suggestions, or like for instance here, let's find out how to use TO, TOO and TWO. 2. English is such a funny language and a complicated language. All are two, but one is spelled TO, one is TOO, and one is TWO. Now, we take it for granted that we know, no. The children may not know, they're just learning the language. So, it's extremely important to look at these small boxes that we have. If you go to the next page, it's correct pronunciation. Correct pronunciation. Now, when you see a double oo, sometimes children, it's a long oo sound. So, root, R-O-O-T, boot, long oo sound, moon. And sometimes a double O or a single O is just an aw sound, A-W. Hop, dot, aw. So, double O sometimes is oo, some O is sometimes aw, and you'll have to say hop, hoop, hot, hoot, shot, shoot. Pronunciation can only be improved by explanation and practice. And if they keep saying it all the time or listening to it correctly all the time. And finally, we always have life skills. So, you take a look at the picture over here. Look at this one. The boy is writing, because he has no hands, he's writing with his toes. Let there be silence in the classroom. Let them feel it. Ma'am, he's writing with his toes. They look at each other. My gosh, I write with my hands and I can't write properly with my fingers. Sometimes I say, oh, my hand is hurting. This empathy, these thoughts and these feelings, you can't tell them you must feel for those who are challenged. No, it has to be passed on very subtly, indirectly, like we have done in these life skills. We get to class 3 or grade 3 of Englishville and again deal with chapter 1, the Super 6 and the Lost Treasure. In every chapter, we have a graphic story, because it's extremely important to get the children to see pictures and tell a story. So, a graphic story, if you have any other graphic stories that you have, bring it to the class, read it to them, let them see it, and encourage children or encourage their parents to buy graphic stories. And later on, even graphic novels, when people grow older, has become very popular. So, let's take this one. You look at the picture now. Look at this picture. Name as many things as you can. What are the different things that people are doing? So, somebody will give you the names, maybe again not in English, doesn't matter. So, encourage them, and as they keep naming things, ask children to name things in the classroom, ask them to name things on the street, ask them to name things by the seaside. The more words they use, the vocabulary is increasing. The second exercise here before we begin, let's listen, let's talk. Imagine you have found a lost treasure chest. See, imagine again. Children love imagining. What do you hope would be inside that treasure chest? Would you want lots of gold and jewelry? Would you like the chest to be full of books or something else? Write whatever you want to find inside the treasure chest. Once again, you will get children with different answers, interesting answers, boring answers, exciting answers, but encourage them to do their own thinking and express themselves as far as possible in the English language. And then if you go through the chapter, even this chapter has been completely read for you and for the children's benefit and their parents by the author and those on my team. We get to there's a word meaning, even here, word path, every word that we feel they'll find it difficult to understand, we've got word meanings. We go to at the end, the exercises, question zone. Once again, comprehension is step by step. And here there's a suggestion or a tip for you. Don't make them write immediately. First, discuss all the questions in comprehension, discuss it, chat about it, then let them write it. In fact, they can write it at home, maybe, the answers, or wherever. But try to discuss each of the questions in class. So, once again, just to tell you, in the beginning, it's think quick. Just give true or false. Then write short answers. Then think an answer. And we have introduced reference to the context, 1 or 2, in almost all the chapters. Vocabulary corner, once again, to get them interested in the language, interested in words. See the second word game. It's think of words beginning with S-E-A, seasons, seaside. So you can tell them, think of words beginning with rain. Rainfall, raincoat, lovely. Think of words beginning with over. Overcome, overnight, overleaf. Ma'am, what's overleaf? Overleaf is, this is the front and that is overleaf on the reverse side. Okay, like that. Think of words that begin with some other thing, some other words, like for instance, sun, sunlight, sunset, sunglasses. Yeah, this makes it animated, and they'll go home and they'll say, Mama, Daddy, any more words? I've got to find out more words. That's what interests children. Grammar Grove, of course, grammar. Now here, grammar, how important is grammar? Grammar is important, but they don't need to learn it by rote. They don't need to mug it up. They have to understand it. Now, I've tried to keep it very, very simple. Grammar is a very difficult, heavy thing, and usually children are scared of it. All of us are. So, you need to do it very, very simply, and I've explained it like that, one step at a time, very gradually. Writing Avenue will again get them to imagine. Communication Street will again get them to think and speak. Group discussion, very important part of teaching a language. So, there are many types of group discussion. One group discussion is generally in the class. One group discussion is 4 or 5 in front, sitting in front, having a group discussion. Yeah. So, there are many types, but you have to make group discussion a part of your teaching, for language. Very, very important. Listening and speaking. The more they listen, the better, or the more correct English they listen to, the better it is. So, we have a lot of listening and speaking exercises in this book. A lot of conversation practice. So, group discussion is some people are talking or many people are talking. Then we have conversation practice, get into pairs. You and your friend, only 2 people are talking. That is conversation. That is also extremely, extremely important. And then, of course, you always have life skills where we actually share something, a very real situation. So, that is book 3. Let's move on to the teachers of book 4, those of you who teach class 4. Let me tell you, friends, I know teaching any class is difficult. But teaching in the junior school, primary school, very difficult. The smaller the children, the more difficult it is. You are the people who are setting the base. The first 5-7 years of a child's life in school, very important. Not just for English language, for any subject, or for them to become people who think, people who care. The first 5-7 years, very important. Anyway, let's get to book 4, that is class 4, and we're taking chapter 2, Clothes That Talk. Clothes that talk, a shirt that talks. Wow! So immediately a child starts thinking, oh, that's fun. Imagine if toys could talk. Imagine if furniture could talk. Oh, wow! Imagine if books could talk. Crazy. Imagine if things in nature could talk. A tree could talk. A flower could talk. A bird could talk. An animal could talk. What fun! What fun! That's the animation. Before we begin, according to me, is probably the most important part of each chapter or lesson. Yeah. So, and of course, we bring in values and life skills. So, Clothes That Talk is a play. Friends, if you want your children to really feel like speaking, improve the power of expression, intonation, that means which words will they stress on, modulation, ask them to read plays. Not just the plays, in every book we have a couple of plays, in every book in our series. But if you get plays, there are many plays on the internet for children, right? They don't have to wear costumes and have lights and do, act it out on the stage. Not necessarily. You can have play readings. But if they are a character, if there are 2 characters, 4 characters, that's the best way to get hooked onto a language. So we've got this Clothes That Talk. Once again, It starts with imagine if things could talk, and then you will get them to interact like that. And in each play, make more than one person play the role of that character. So you will see how they will, each one will do it differently. So this is something that they'll really find interesting. And as I've told you, comprehension, one by one, one step at a time, getting more and more difficult. First discuss it, first speak about it, then get them to write. In the vocabulary corner, you can come up with your own additional things. For instance, in this vocabulary second exercise, which is on page 20, write words, new words here, air plus craft, aircraft. Water, you can show a tap or plus a melon, watermelon, and many such words. Rain plus a bow, rainbow. And like this, you tell them, think of 5 more. Okay, you can ask your mommy and daddy also, and bring 5 new words like that, which we call in Hindi sandhi, 2 words making a third word, and they'll go home and they will find out from the internet, or they will ask their brothers, sisters, or uncles, aunties, or daddies, mummies, please, I need 5 more words. Oh yeah, that process has to continue at home, continue outside the classroom, otherwise they can't learn the language. To get them hooked onto it, and if you look down at the second word game on page 20, it's like a crossword, a simple crossword. Once again, they'll find it very, very interesting because you've given them some clues where you're saying, it is made of wool and we wear it in winter. So they'll be thinking, how many letters is it? And then they'll come up. I'm happy to tell you that the QR code, there's a QR code for the answers also. So that will help you. Then we've got, of course, Grammar Grove, where grammar explains simply. Writing Avenue, in this case, to take a look at it, assisted writing. Don't only ask children, write an essay, write a letter. No, it's not so easy. When you ask a child to learn to cycle or to swim, do you buy the cycle and say, now ride the cycle? Do you put them into the water and say, now swim? No. Assist them. You'll have to hold the back of the cycle. You have to run along the way, or you'll have to give them 2 wheels at the side. Yeah? Or you will, when swimming, you'll have to give them the floats, so you'll have to help them. Assisted swimming, assisted cycling before you leave it, and then they can do it on their own. Similarly, assisted writing, where there are lots of suggestions and help, fill in the blanks, etc. Assisted writing, then comes writing. Assisted speaking, assist them, ask them questions, let them answer, talk. That's assisted speaking. Then ask them to speak on their own. Don't ask some child just to stand up and start speaking in front of everyone. Not possible. And then we come to Communication Street. Very important, as I've always said, group discussion. Let them have a chat amongst themselves and sometimes in front of the whole classroom. We have a listening exercise, not in every chapter, which is at the back of the book. So the teacher, you will read it out, they will listen, and then they will answer these questions. That's to test their listening skills. And then also in the communication, we have the different ways of saying the same thing. Like you can say thanks, you can say thank you can say thank you very much, you can say thank you so much. I don't have enough words to thank you. I'm very grateful to you. I'm very grateful to you for what you have done. I'm very thankful. I can't thank you enough. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for being so thoughtful. I really appreciate what you have done for me. I do not know how to thank you. So many ways of saying thank you. They don't have to use all, but they have to have many ways of saying the same thing in front of them. And then there's again correct pronunciation. And here, it's very important, don't mind me teachers, some of us in different regions, we may have a particular problem with a particular sound. Like for instance, say in Bengal, we don't have a Z sound, Z. So it's difficult for some of us to say zoo, we say Jew. Okay? So like that, in some places there's no sh sound. Everything becomes sir. So be conscious about it, no problem, and this is where we must assist the children to improve their pronunciation. And then there's conversation practice. In the conversation practice, I've given you a demonstration with underlined words so the children can change those underlined words. Like for instance, do you want a frock or a skirt and a top for your birthday? Frock, skirt and top for your birthday are underlined. They can change it. For your birthday can be for the party. Yeah. So that's how they can practice. And finally, of course, there's life skills once again. Well, I've tried to. Unfortunately, obviously, if I was there with you, then the demonstration would be even more exciting. But I've given you an introduction. I've shared with you my mantras. I've shared with you some tips about how you can make it more animated in the classroom. And I've shared one chapter from books 1, 2, 3, 4. However, if those teachers, those of you who are teaching classes 1 to 4, if you have anything you want to ask, any queries, anything you want to know, you can write in to us at this email address that you will see at the bottom of your screen, and I will try and answer those. But only keep one thing in mind. There is no shortcut, no lift and elevator when you're teaching a language or sharing a language. It is a process, it is a journey, it is an adventure. Surround the child with that language. That's what I said in the beginning. Tell the parents of the children, and even in school, no forcing them. As soon as you tell a child, you must eat this, you must eat these vegetables, they're good for you, there's going to be resistance. It's much better to try and make the vegetables tasty. Then they will want to eat the vegetables. Mama, where are the vegetables? Bring on the vegetables. So they've got to say, bring on the English. And usually, if you like a language, or if you embrace a language, usually you're good at other languages also. I know people who are very good in 2, 3 languages. So obviously the mother tongue is important, the regional language is important. English is important simply because we have to communicate with the rest of India and the rest of the world. Well, my name is Barry O'Brien, and I'm almost 60 years old and 40 years in this. So all invested. Yeah, I keep sharing my age because I think it's important to share with you how long I've been doing this. And I can tell you in India, it's a different approach to teaching English. We can't teach it like it is taught in other English-speaking countries. We have to keep in mind that in the lower classes, it's all to do with vocabulary, communication, naming things, speaking, looking around, observing, and desiring a hunger to speak in it. And then we go into writing, and then we go, of course, reading is important. Very important, I forgot to say, reading aloud. Don't ask children to read. We say in class, please read softly, read in your mind. What is reading in your mind? Nothing. Reading can only be aloud. You have to hear it. You have to hear it, others have to hear it. Tell them to read it aloud in English, not just the English book, any book, history, geography, storybook, anything. Now my wife has stopped me, I read many newspapers every day, 7 newspapers, and I read it aloud still. My neighbors have stopped buying newspapers. But jokes apart, it's very important to encourage our children to read aloud. God bless you. You have a very challenging job, not just of teaching children and teaching them a language that is not the language that they speak at home. Thank you for trusting me and trusting Chetna and using Englishville. I hope schools that are using only 2, 3 parts actually consider using parts 1 to 8, because then the adventure or the journey continues. Class 6, 7, 8, of course, a higher standard, especially 7 and 8, because you have to compete with the rest of the world. I've enjoyed bringing this to you. Maybe sometime when I'm traveling around, we will meet. Till then, stay safe. God bless you, your family, and as teachers, we have to keep learning every day. If you're static, if you think you know everything, then it's time to retire. So I'm sure you're not like that. Keep the child in you alive. Keep the energy level high, even when you're tired. God bless you. Take care.